Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled family tries to get into Grandma's will. She cut them out years ago, but they still want a slice of the pie. They then try to poison her and build an illegal house on her property. Here is what happened. Subscribe to Ripe on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. When it comes to my extended family, there is a big history of bad blood between everybody. My aunt and cousins were basically disowned by my mother and my grandma years ago. My aunt was a selfish woman and her children seemed to follow right in her footsteps. They thought they could do anything they wanted and not worry about anybody else. It got to the point that my aunt was stealing money from my grandma and then lying about it. I know other things that happened that my mom just never wanted to talk about, but basically, my extended family are horrible people. My grandma, on the other hand, is my favorite person in the world. She does not have any issue putting her foot down when needed, but is usually extremely nice. I don't know how my aunt turned out the way she did when my grandma is so nice. She also owns a large area of land that due to her age I am the one that maintains it. Due to a small family that seemed to not have the best of luck with old age, my mother and I are the only people that are actively in my grandma's will. My aunt and cousins were written out of it once she realized how horrible they were. The thing is though that they wanted back in and my aunt acted like she really cared and wanted to come back and reconnect with grandma in her old age. She wanted to give her daughter another chance and soon my aunt and cousins were a constant fixture around the house. They had started taking care of her and I could tell right away that something was fishy because she started getting sick as soon as they came in on the scene. My aunt would always seem to know exactly what to give my grandma to feel better. My grandma praised her for helping her and I knew that she was thinking about changing her will and putting them back in. I was worried something else was going on, so I decided to be sneaky when my aunt was around to see if I could find out what she was doing. It turns out she was putting small doses of some kind of chemical in my grandma's food that would make her feel sick. Then my aunt would give her something to feel better. I looked into the thing and it was not safe for consumption. Long-term use could have actually killed my grandma. My aunt was also talking about my mother when she didn't know I was around to hear it, making up lies that my mother didn't care about her and was just after her money and land. She wanted my mom out of the will and when she found out I was in it, she started making up stories about me too. I wanted so badly to bust in and start yelling at my aunt, but I knew that I couldn't just do that without any proof of something going on. Instead, I went up to my aunt and told her that I knew what she was using to make my grandma sick and if she did it again, I was going to call the police. That seemed to work because she was not getting sick anymore. I had also noticed that on the edge of the property, my aunt had started building a house that her and my cousins were living in. It was not visible from the main house, so my grandma did not know, and for a long time I did not either. And by the way, Ripe stars, I guess that OP in this story has a very large property, or rather the grandma has. Also, I looked at some other posts of the commenter and they were asking stuff about landscaping and gardening and in general taking care of trees, so I think they also have something like a forest or whatever on their property. So I guess that's why it would make sense that the grandma and OP did not notice the house. Either way, I hated that my aunt was taking advantage of a nice old lady that took care of her. I wanted to get back at her, so I came up with the perfect plan. I knew that I could not get my grandma to call the police on her own daughter that she thought she was reconnecting with. I told my grandma about the illegal house and she was not really sure what to do. My grandma is an old woman and is not really sharp anymore. It is hard for her to do things for herself physically, but she is mentally also starting to go. The will is known to the family, so it is not a secret that in it I was going to be given the land and house. My aunt hated that of course and wanted it for her children, who thought that they were entitled to the land instead of me. They never helped take care of their grandma and instead caused more messes and talked about how they couldn't wait for her to die and get the land. The fact that I didn't punch them amazes me to this day. Since my grandma is not always there mentally, I was given written permission to the land. I don't own the land legally, but I did sign papers that said I would take care of the land and basically own it in practice. That meant I had the right to stop my aunt from having an illegal house on the land. I told her to get rid of the house and she just laughed and told me that soon I would be out of the picture and she could kick me off the land. I had given her a chance and she refused to take it, so my next call was to the police. I told them that there were people trespassing and building an illegal house on the land that I was in charge of. When the police arrived, my aunt and cousins did not think they did anything wrong and just said that it was their right to build a house on the property since it belonged to their mother. The fact of the matter was that I had paperwork and that they did not have a single thing. They were arrested for trespassing and taken off of the property. They also were forced to demolish the house that was on the property illegally. They had never ever gotten a building permit or anything, so they were also in trouble with the state for that one. The cherry on top though was something that I got to play for the police when they came over. Remember how I confronted my aunt about trying to poison my grandma? I had my phone going and got the entire conversation we had recorded. In the end, she was also arrested for elderly abuse because of that. I also wanted to personally sue her for the property damage that her building a house had caused. All the money, of course, would end up going right back into my grandma's estate, but I had the right to sue on her behalf. I was given the money and asked the court to grant a restraining order against my aunt and cousins to keep them away from my grandma for her own safety. It was granted, and now my aunt was not able to even go near my grandma and tried to get her to change the will. I then decided that they actually had picked a pretty good spot on the property to build a house. I had been living close by and just traveling every single day. I built my own house after getting all of the permits and things. This way I could stay closer to my grandma in the time that I would still take care of her. I would not care about sharing land with my extended family if they were not such entitled backstabbing people. If they truly cared, they would have ended up in the will as well and it would have been fine. But instead, I'm going to make sure that when the time comes and my grandma passes, they don't get a single penny or grain of dirt from the land. It will be my property, and the second they try and step on it, I will just have them arrested again. And yeah, ripe stars, it seems like some people don't even care about their own family members when it comes to money or owning property. I guess some people value that more than human relationships. Truly, truly sad. The next one is titled Neighborly Revenge Done Right. This is a long story, so buckle in. We have a big stretch of lawn that is adjacent to our neighbor's lawn. Their dog often runs around on our property and we never minded it. We also have a dog, but we keep our dog in our yard and out of theirs. We are avid organic gardeners and grow much of our own food and are very careful about what chemicals we use on our property. After having our crop decimated by Japanese beetles several years in a row, we did a bunch of research and last spring decided to spread milky spore on the lawn as a preventative. Research stated it would not be harmful to the environment or animals, and we decided to spread it while our neighbors were out of town so their dog would not run around on it. The next day, our neighbor comes marching into our yard yelling about how we tried to kill their dog and how we are inconsiderate idiots with no regard for our neighbors and are terrible people, etc. Apparently, they came home early and their dog ran onto our lawn, and the neighbor claims he watched his dog eat a clump of grass that had milky spore on it and the dog got sick. He screamed for about 20 minutes before my husband had enough and told him to leave. The next day we get a letter in the mail, typed in all caps, demanding that we give him 48 hours written notice before applying anything to our lawn and that we must have his permission prior to doing so. We informed him that as the land and homeowners, we are not obligated to inform him about anything we do to our lawn, and much less get his permission, but that we would give him a heads up out of courtesy and that he should make an effort to keep his dog on their side to avoid further issues. We did not hear from him for a while, and then early last fall I was out back planting a few trees on our property. He then came out and told me he did not like the trees. I told him, sorry to hear that, but it is my yard and I do like the trees, so they are staying. All winter, every time he let his dog outside, we would watch out the window, and as he directed his dog over to the trees I had planted so he could pee on them. By summer, both trees were half dead where his dog had been peeing on them, and he told me that he and his wife were going to purchase and plant different trees for us as a replacement, and that they would be a better variety. I told him no, and instead I dug the trees out and replanted them a few feet off the property line on our side in a spot where they are not visible to us, but where he has to see them directly out his living room and kitchen windows with the dead sides facing his property. The sides facing our property are now lush and healthy, and the sides facing his property, the sides he encouraged his dog to pee on, are still dead and brown. It tickles me absolutely pink every time I walk past the trees, and I have named them my spy trees. I have no regrets and I'm not sorry. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, that was absolutely brilliant, and I just love stories about spy trees or fences. If you have ever gotten any gardening related revenge on anyone in your life, then please feel free to share your story on r/Ripe Stories on Reddit, because I would love to read that story. Anyway, the next one is titled, Karen claims my kid is not my kid. Let me just start with a few things for those of you who have seen my last post. I am deaf and I was adopted when I was 8.5. After my mom told me the story about my last post, I asked my dad if anything similar happened with me and him. Oh, the rabbit hole I fell into. Also note, because this happened a long time ago, words may not be exact, but I'm also saying what my dad told me. I did not know what was being said exactly. The cast is entitled Mother, EM, Embarrassed Kid, EK, Adoptive Dad, AD, and of course the star of the show, me. Story, 3 months after I was adopted and AD went out for ice cream. We were sitting on a park bench licking our ice cream. Something important is that I am very white while my adoptive parents are Asian. After a while we were playing tag. After a while of not running, I wondered where he was. I turned around and saw my dad talking to a lady. EM, why are you playing with that child? That's really creepy. Where are his parents? AD, I am his father. EM, no you're not. He is white and you're Asian. There's no way you can be related. AD, yes there is. He is my son. They went on arguing for a while and EK walked up to me. He started talking, but I just tapped my ear. EK in sign language, are you deaf? Me, yes EK, cool. My friend is deaf and he taught me sign language. Me, awesome. What's happening with our parents? EK, my mom is not the nicest. I'm really sorry in advance for whatever she is saying. My dad and EM were still pointlessly arguing, but then EM said she will call the cops. EM, I will call the cops, but if you let me take the child to find his real parents, then I won't. Deal? AD, no, I'm his adoptive father, and while we are not blood related, I'm his legal guardian. Now leave us alone or I will call the cops. EM, when the cops get here, they will take you away, you predator. I always wondered why he didn't say I was adopted, but as I grew older, I realized that it was not her business. I, being the obvious child I was playing soccer with EK. EK gave me his email and my dad came over and told me cops were coming and not to be scared. I wasn't. The cops came and he was able to prove I was his child. I ended up becoming good friends with EK and I still keep in touch today. So yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, in this story I'm not exactly sure if Karen was just an idiot or a racist or a combination of both. I guess either way it does not make a big difference because she was just stupid. Anyway, the next one is titled, No, your son is not allowed to steal. This happened a couple days ago, so I will do my best to have the conversation exactly as it went, but some may be paraphrased. Also on mobile, so sorry about formatting. For context, I work nights in a gas station. About a week ago, a couple of kids, probably no more than 15 to 16 years old, who are semi-regulars, as in I've seen them a few times before but not often enough to know them, came in around 2 AM and pulled a runner on me with around $30 in drinks and snacks. As I am not allowed to chase shoplifters, I do what is required and leave a note for my boss so she can pull the tapes and post the pictures for us so we can tell them to get out of there if they are stupid enough to come back. You would not believe how many thieves actually are in fact stupid enough to come back. These two morons in particular, well, 2 days ago I am working my only weekly day shift and who would walk in but my pair of thieves. And who do they have with them? One of their mothers. I immediately buckle down and tell them they need to go now. The following is how the conversation went. Karen will be the mother, B1 for boy 1, B2 for boy 2, AM will be awesome manager, truly the best. Me will be me. The two thieves walk in and me, you two need to go right now. B1, for what? B2, we did not even do anything. Me, you know exactly what you did and you're banned from the store. You can leave on your own feet or leave with a police escort. You choose. They leave and go back to the car waiting for them at the pump. From the window I can see them talking to the woman in the driver's seat, gesturing and pointing. She gets out of her car and storms into the store. Karen, why the hell did you tell my son and his friend that they cannot be here? Me, ma'am, they ran out with nearly $30 in products. We don't allow thievery and they are banned from the store. You are welcome to come and get what they need, but if they are seen on the property again, the police are going to be called. Karen, no, my son is not a thief. How dare you? Get me a manager. Me, gladly. She does not know my manager has less patience for customer crap than I do. Since the store is not very big, she has already heard this exchange from the office. I bring her out and she says exactly what I did. Karen, that's a bold-faced lie. My son is a good boy. You are targeting him and his friends for no reason. Assistant manager, you are welcome to come back and watch the tape for yourself. Karen says she will just do that. Karen, and once I have proof you are lying, I will be expecting this little slur for homosexuals to be fired. AM brings Karen into the office, I accompany them. Being the assistant, it is both part of my job and a joyful experience to watch Karen's face fall when she finds out that her good boy is a rotten thief. AM plays the tape and Karen's son and his friend, clearly identifiable as their only means of a disguise was their school track hoodies pulled up over their hair. Folks, they had their frickin' names on the back. They were wearing the hoodies as they sat in the car waiting. The Karen was simply too stunned to speak at first, but eventually remembered how to Karen and stormed out shrieking that she would be calling corporate. For what? Who knows? But she is calling anyway. And yep, ripe stars, sometimes Karens just got a Karen. They don't know why they are calling the manager, but they just have to, or corporate in this case. Either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to like because that would really help my channel, and I see you again tomorrow.